The world has never been a fair playground, and if you still believe it is, you are the first prey to be slaughtered. Have you ever wondered why the most talented people often stand behind those who are the most controlled? Why pure honesty is often met with betrayal, while the schemers hold the keys to power? The truth is, society doesn't run on flowery promises. It runs on psychological algorithms and the invisible undercurrents of power. We call this dark intelligence. This is not a tool to turn you into a villain, but the sharpest shield to protect you in a world full of wolves in sheep's clothing. Dark intelligence isn't born in university lecture halls. It is forged from the times you were crushed, humiliated, and betrayed. When others collapse, you quietly rebuild your empire from that very pain. You learn to observe while others are busy arguing, learn to calculate while others are losing their cool, and learn to act when others think you've given up. Most people out there are playing checkers, but after this video, you will start playing chess with your life. Before we dive into the shadows, I need one commitment. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Our goal is to understand the rules so we never become victims, not to become the antagonist. If you are ready to master your destiny, leave the phrase, "I choose strategic intelligence, not emotional reactivity," in the comments. Now, let's deconstruct the 8 psychological traits that separate leaders from followers that the elite never want you to know. Imagine a room full of powerful people. There are those who speak loudly, those who flaunt wealth, but there is always one person sitting in the shadow, saying the least but drawing every eye's caution. That is the person holding dark intelligence. They don't need physical strength to impose. They use their presence and psychological insight to dictate the game. Your story begins with shedding the victim mindset to don the armor of a strategist. This intelligence is like water, calm when necessary, but powerful enough to destroy fortified citadels. To achieve that, you need to master these ultimate rules. Your greatest strength lies in what others do not know about you. In the art of war or dark psychology, excessive transparency is suicide. When you expose your entire plan, emotions, and intentions, you've handed your opponent the map to attack you. Rule number 1 is, never allow anyone to fully know your intentions. Show them only what is necessary. Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few actually touch what you are." The most influential people never tell their whole story. They leave gaps. They answer a question with another cryptic question. They smile when you expect an explanation. This isn't lying. It's strategic communication. In most conversations, when someone asks a question, your instinct is to answer fully to build trust. But in reality, you are losing power. Mystery creates attraction. Attraction leads to curiosity. And curiosity is the string you use to lead others. For example, when someone asks about your weekend plans, instead of saying, "I'm just staying home watching movies," try, "I have something important to take care of." Then stay silent and change the subject. What's the difference? The first answer makes you predictable and boring. The second makes you an intriguing mystery. Information is the currency of power. Don't spend it wastefully. When you master ambiguity, your words carry more weight because they are rare. Remember, the goal isn't to seem dangerous. but to maintain control over your own narrative and surrounding relationships. Never strip your soul bare before those only waiting for a chance to trample it. You are not a fixed stone statue. You must be water. Dark intelligence requires the ability to adjust your persona based on whom you are talking to. This isn't being fake, it's being effective. You cannot use the same language to speak to a child as you do to a corporate CEO. Everyone you meet has different values, fears, and communication styles. If you have only one face, you will only connect with a narrow group and be left out of bigger games. Intelligent people study their subject before speaking. Who are they? Are they rational or emotional? Do they care about details or the big vision? Learn to mirror the other person's energy. If they are practical, give them data. If they are ambitious, paint the vision. Machiavelli taught that a leader must know how to show the qualities the crowd expects: mercy, loyalty, humanity, and integrity, even if inside they are calculating the coldest moves. Think of a diamond. It has many facets, each reflecting light differently depending on the angle, but its core remains the hardest stone. You can change your presentation, your speech, and your emotional expression to fit the context, but never lose your core values and internal principles. The mistake most people make is confusing being real with not changing. Being real is maintaining identity. Adaptation is the tool for that identity to spread effectively. When you master the adaptive persona, you become someone everyone feels compatible with, opening doors of opportunity that the rigid never see. What you are not afraid to lose cannot control you. The greatest human weakness is dependency. Dependency on a relationship, a job, or the validation of others. Dark intelligence teaches that detachment is not coldness, but absolute freedom. When you are willing to walk away, you hold the ultimate power in any negotiation. Imagine two people negotiating a contract. Person A desperately needs this deal to pay off debt. Person B wants the deal, but has 3 other backup options. Who wins? Clearly, person B, because they aren't bound by emotion and fear. Detachment gives you clarity. When you no longer crave praise, people no longer have the tool to manipulate your self-esteem. When you no longer fear loneliness, you will never accept a toxic relationship. The paradox of life is, the less you need something, the more it tends to find you. This doesn't mean you become heartless, but that you care without being controlled by that care. Practice this in the smallest things. Don't strive too hard to win a pointless argument. Don't worry too much when someone doesn't like you. When you radiate the energy of someone ready to walk, if conditions are no longer met, the world will treat you with an entirely different level of respect. The most dangerous person is the one with nothing to lose, but the most powerful is the one who has everything but lets nothing imprison their mind. Real strength never screams. The pinnacle of power is silence. While mediocre people try to prove themselves with words, those with dark intelligence use silence to create pressure. When you are silent, you force the opponent to confront their own mind. Humans fear gaps, and in an effort to fill that void, they will reveal their own weaknesses, secrets, and mistakes. Silent leverage is the art of creating influence without a single threat. Instead of demanding respect, make yourself indispensable. Instead of fighting for power, Make people give it to you willingly. In a negotiation, when met with a tough question, don't rush to answer. Be silent for 5 seconds, looking the opponent straight in the eye calmly. You will see them start to get flustered, start explaining more, and that is when they begin to lose the upper hand. Your silence is like a mirror reflecting their instability. In your career, don't announce you are the problem solver. Just solve them until your absence becomes a disaster for the organization. That is silent leverage. This rule requires extreme patience. Most want instant results, but silent leverage is a long game. You plant in silence and harvest in the opponent's shock. Remember, real power is when you don't need to say you have power, but everyone in the room feels it. People don't buy products. They buy solutions to their pain. They don't follow ideas. They follow people who make them feel understood. Psychological echoing is the technique of becoming a mirror, reflecting the opponent's deepest needs. When you speak their language, touch their fears, and soothe their desires, you gain absolute loyalty. Most of us are too focused on what we want to say, forgetting what the other person needs to hear. Everyone you meet carries invisible burdens and silent questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? If you answer yes to all three through actions, you hold the key to their heart and mind. Don't just hear words, hear the emotion behind them. If someone complains about work, don't just advise finding a new job. Echo back, it seems like you feel your efforts aren't being properly recognized. When they feel you truly see them, they open up. From there, you can steer them toward common goals naturally. This is an incredibly powerful tool in leadership and sales. You don't change your message. You just change its presentation to fit the psychological map of the listener. When a person feels you understand them better than they do themselves, they trust you unconditionally. Using this with compassion makes you a great leader. Using it with malice makes you a terrifying manipulator. The choice lies in your ethics. The world is not just black and white. It is a massive gray area. Those with dark intelligence understand that sometimes, to achieve a greater good, you must be willing to make unpleasant decisions. Real power lies in effectiveness, not in the outward appearance of a saint. Machiavelli said, "If one must choose between being loved and feared, it is safer to be feared." Ambiguous morality doesn't mean becoming a lawless, terrible person. It means prioritizing practical results over rigid dogmas. Sometimes being too kind to a villain is an act of cruelty toward the innocent. Imagine you are a manager and you know an employee is sabotaging the collective. Being kind and giving them another chance could destroy the whole team. A person with ambiguous morality will choose to remove that factor decisively to protect the majority. That is pragmatic ethics. Don't ask, "Does this action make me look like a good person?" Ask, "Does this action bring the best result for the long-term goal?" You must be willing to take responsibility for difficult and unpopular decisions. This rule requires a very strong internal value system so as not to fall into pure selfishness. Set red lines you will never cross. But within those lines, allow yourself to be flexible to survive and succeed. In an era where everyone wants to expose everything on social media, discretion becomes a heavy weapon. The less you reveal, the more others must guess. And when they guess, they often make mistakes. Controlled exposure is actively choosing what to show to build the most advantageous image for your strategy. Never show all your capabilities from the start. Save your trump cards for decisive moments. This creates the impression that you always have untapped potential, keeping opponents cautious. In social relationships, telling your whole life story to a new acquaintance is not being open. It's lacking control. Share bit by bit, letting trust build over time. Mystery creates a curiosity gap, a powerful psychological gravity that keeps others coming back to find out more. Even your social media presence needs calculation. Every post, every photo is part of a personal PR campaign. Do you want others to see you as a cold expert, a warm friend, or a decisive leader? Control that information flow. Remember, information once spoken cannot be taken back. Therefore, it's better to reveal too little than too much. Let your actions speak instead of long explanations. This is the final and most important trait. The difference between a dreamer and a winner is the obsession with the final result. A person with dark intelligence doesn't waste time in arguments to prove they are right. They only care if they achieve their goal. Most people are distracted by ego. They want to look smart, powerful, or kind. But those obsessed with the outcome are willing to play the fool if it helps achieve the end goal. When you focus on the result, your questions change. Instead of, how do I win this argument? You ask, how do I get this person to agree to my proposal? Sometimes, admitting you are wrong is the fastest way to put the opponent in a cooperative state. That is a strategic retreat. This obsession helps you avoid the trap of looking busy instead of being productive. Apply the Pareto principle. 20% of actions create 80% of results. Don't try to learn everything or do everything. Focus only on the most important links leading to success. You don't need to be the hardest worker. Be the most effective one. When you have a reputation as someone who always produces results, the world will automatically bring you the best resources and opportunities. You won't need to look for power. Power will find you. All 8 of these rules converge at a single point: mastery. Mastery of information, mastery of emotions, and mastery of destiny. The world may not be fair, but you are no longer a victim of that unfairness. You have the map, the shield, and the sword of dark intelligence. But remember the initial warning: with great power comes great responsibility. Don't use these techniques to be a bully or a cheap manipulator. Use them to protect good values, to build a sustainable career, and to become the strongest version of yourself. Don't let this knowledge sleep in your head. Choose one rule that resonated most and practice it this very week. Observe how the way people around you react changes when you start acting with strategic intelligence instead of instinctive emotion. Because in the end, true intelligence is not about dominating others. It is about ensuring no one can dominate you. This world is not for those who just wait for kindness. It is for those who know how to create their own position. Keep a cool head, a steadfast heart, and an unbreakable strategy. Welcome to the world of those who master the game.